Hey everybody, this is Hil and Charles, and we're here to give a little rewind theater look at Red Dead Redemption, which Charles actually got to see a little bit of in New York last week.
Yeah, so this is Rockstar's next open world game, and what you might notice is that it looks a lot more expansive than Red Dead Revolver, which if you played that was more of a stage-based game. This is fully open world, and I mean, I guess you could say it's similar to GTA in that respect.
GTA, but instead of cars, they've put in horses and trains and, you know, 6-shooters.
Yeah.
So finally, this is like a cool-looking Western game, I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, we really haven't seen that many like really good Western games, especially anything that attempts to do as many things as this does. Like, as you know, you see lots of people running around on horses that actually look really good.
So let's first start off by talking about Marston. So this is a new character. This is not the same. You played a bunch of characters in the original Red Dead Revolver, right, Charles? And then
yeah, you'd switch between protagonists in that game. Marston is the only guy you're going to play as, and the fiction itself is disconnected from Revolver. So this is basically a different game. It just holds the title and the themes.
Now he looks sort of like a craggy man. He's got a scar, which you can't really see in much of the trailer, but in some of the screens you can see a big scar on his face, which is traditional. That's actually from a Clint Eastwood movie where he has a big scar on his face too. So he's sort of like the grizzled, old, angry Western guy that we've seen in many, many movies. Is that right?
Yeah, he's seen some stuff. He's a reformed criminal. So he used to be a bandit. He used to be an outlaw. He used to do all sorts of crazy stuff, and then sort of settled down with a family. But then, of course, this tends to be the case. If you're a criminal, you can't quite quit that life. So it comes back to bite him in some form, and he has to set out from home and basically go on. Well, start the game, basically.
And speaking of setting off from home, there's a lot of different modes of transportation in this game. Obviously, there are going to be horses and stuff, but you know, there's also stagecoaches, right? There are trains. No helicopters, though?
No helicopters. I don't believe there's tanks.
That's too bad.
I will admit I did not ask if there were tanks, but
so tanks are still a possibility.
I guess so, but yeah, I mean, you ride around on stagecoaches. You can get on trains, and you can actually take naps while you're on these things to sort of speed the process of getting around the world, because it's huge. It's one of the biggest worlds Rockstar's made.
So it's like a little bit like the GTA cab rides, where you can kind of be in there and kind of watch the scenery, or you can just skip past it.
Yeah, and I was told like you can set waypoints and stuff like that too. So if it's like, hey, I want to go out into this area, then yeah, you hop on a train and set a point and take a nap, and then you're there. Or you can just hop on a horse and gallop around in the countryside.
And one of the things we were talking about before this was actually, if you look at sort of the West has been untamed, even though this is turn of the century, and there's a lot of open expanse here. And I think one of your things, Charles, was just kind of thinking about what Rockstar is actually going to do to put into this game, into these big, open, expansive areas to actually make them interesting to ride through. Because it's not like they're cities; they're just like they're little shanty towns basically spread around the West.
Yeah, exactly. So there'll be larger townships and larger population centers, but there are a lot of just random little things you find out in the environment, but a lot of the game looks like it's just going to be, open expanses of terrain. And, Rockstar's talking about putting in a whole sort of intelligent wildlife system. So there's just various types of animals, as like the cows you see there, for instance, of things just running around, and you can actually hunt them or, go around and just tame wild horses, which you have to do with a lasso, which they don't show in this trailer, but the lasso does sound pretty interesting.
And one of the things we should point out actually is none of this stuff is pre-rendered. So everything you see in this trailer is actually in-game footage. And you can see, the horses, that's realistic. And when you see the muscles and everything moving that horse, and the way that they move and the way that the riders move on them are really impressive. And the reason why that's possible is because this game uses both Rockstar's proprietary Rage engine, which they used in GTA 4, but also Natural Motion's Euphoria engine, which is what kind of allows that natural reaction between objects and characters.
Yeah, you see some pretty crazy death animations, and so theoretically you could shoot a guy off a horse and his foot could get caught in the stirrup as he's falling off, or you could shoot the horse and then the horse would do like a somersault and throw the rider flying off, and he crumples to the ground, and it looked really cool from the little demo I got.
And of course, being a Rockstar game, I'm pretty sure this game is going to have, like lots of shooting and death and combat, right?
Surprisingly, there are guns in the game. You do get revolvers, you get rifles and shotguns, and yeah, there's a Deadeye mode to help out sort of with with shooting, which drops the game into slow motion so that you can line up a shot better. And then eventually you unlock a second level to that lets you paint targets. So like with a revolver, you paint targets with each bullet, and then once you release it, Marston fires all his bullets in rapid succession.
And I know that Rockstar's creative director, Dan Houser, said that their tone for this is kind of to be around like the level of the Wild Bunch. But they're definitely, with the Deadeye mode, that's really sort of taps into the spaghetti western side of things, because you can target hats and other items on people's bodies so that you can shoot off hats, shoot guns out of people's hands, etc. So, you know, even though there is a serious tone to the game, it does sound like they are going to kind of take it to that more extreme side of what westerns are. And I should mention that Wild Bunch being the inspiration, that movie has one of the bloodiest battles ever depicted in film cinema history, so expect there to be a lot of violence. Sam Peckinpah is sort of famous, that's the director of The Wild Bunch. He was sort of famous for creating these epic, bloody mass battles towards the end of his films. So.
Well, there is a Gatling gun in this, so that is appropriate. Yeah, it does show up at one point, but I mean...
You mean this Gatling gun right here,
yes,
Charles?
That Gatling gun is exactly the sort of thing, although this isn't a sort of defense sequence where you're doomed. But well, I mean, if you do get in a situation where maybe somebody's firing at you with the Gatling gun, you could take cover and stuff like that too. You can go around the environment and just sort of stick to anything that's of reasonable size, and avoid bullets, and you can blind fire from out of cover basically. Zoom in and fight that way, fight more carefully.
Did it appear like the cover sort of works very similar to what they have in Grand Theft Auto 4, or does it look a little bit different?
It did look similar. I mean, I didn't get to play, so I can't really speak to how it actually felt. But yeah, I mean, it looked like the same kind of thing.
And we should also mention that this is the Rockstar game, so there will be some Grand Theft thievery of stagecoaches. Grand Theft Stagecoach, I guess, is what you could call it.
I guess so. Yes, Grand Theft Stagecoach. Although that does sound slightly less exciting.
And while there are missions and such, I mean, they're not going to limit you in what you can do. In that you can kill ordinary citizens if you like. You can actually wipe out a population of a town for a brief period of time.
Yeah, like you can turn towns into ghost towns, and based on what Rockstar was saying, like vultures will come in after you wipe out a populace, and they'll start picking apart the people that you sort of, well, you just killed. I mean, you can just roll through towns and just be like, hey, what's up? You're all dead now. But yeah, in larger townships, they'll come back eventually, so it's not like you can permanently kill the entire game world.
Right, and I should point out, so this is a perfect example actually of what natural motion provides you. Remember, none of these animations are pre-canned, so what happens is, Marston is leaping down to the ground, and with the help of natural motion, he actually has that's where he's falling off a stagecoach. That's like a natural landing. That's not something where something has been programmed where he's going to fall this one specific way and his arms are going to go this one specific way. It's like as soon as he hits the ground, it's sort of a natural looking progression of what would happen to him. So that's a brief look at Red Dead Redemption coming this fall for PS3 and Xbox 360. Charles, do you think this is a Western to watch out for?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm alone in thinking that a lot of Western games suck, so hopefully this one's really good. It looks like it could be.
Agreed.